Welcome back to today's episode of Outrageous HR. Joining us today is Nick Kirkwood, and he'll talk us through HR compliance as a service. Nick, do you want to give us an introduction?
Absolutely. Thank you, Catherine. My name is Nick Kirkwood. I am our Chief Revenue Officer. Been here for almost a year at this point and excited to hit that 1 year mark in just another couple of weeks.
Okay, Nick. So in your 1 year term with us, can you share a relatable what not to do moment?
What not to do moment. So it has been interesting getting back into the compliance space. So it's something that I came from prior to being here and then left for a little bit, came back here. And it's interesting because the compliance world has just shifted and changed so much. And I think it's gotten significantly more complex than really where it's been even in, 5 years ago. And so when we look at that, I was relating it to just kind of this time of the year with taxes. So my wife and I, we used to do our taxes at home on TurboTax. And it was something that I got really good at, felt like I was on top of it. And it became something that was, it worked for us. But the more that we had kind of diversified the way that we have our income, we've got a rental property now. She owns a real estate company. We realized that it had gotten more complex. And so we started using somebody else to do it. And what I've noticed in this industry coming back into it is a lot of companies are used to an environment that's maybe lower in the complexity level. And so they've had to adapt and evolve and get to a point where they are treating things differently and understanding all of the nuances that change year after year. So what I learned from that, though, is that you really need to have somebody that's in your camp who understands the environment better than you do and is able to coach you through it.
So what makes OutSolve's approach to compliance different?
I'd say it really comes down to our understanding of the entire compliance space and the fact that we have consultants who have been doing this for decades. I mean, we're a 28-year-old company at this point, and we have really changed and evolved with the compliance regulations that are out there. So we're thinking about it from a lens of a deep understanding. We also approach things with that very consultant-led strategy. And when you look at really the entire foundation of what it is that we provide, we have this wheel of services. And for us, that's really it's a moving guideline that we're staying on top of for you. So right now, as you look around the wheel, we've got things like labor law posters and I-9 compliance. We've got affirmative action or NDE. We've got compensation. We've got a number of different components that are on there. But one of the things that's really important is you'll notice there's some other spokes of that wheel that are actually future things as we talk about AI and how is that coming into the entire compliance world. But it's something that we have a team thinking about. And so when you think about what OutSolve is doing is we're trying to stay in front of what's out there that you aren't even aware of yet so that we can be a very consultant-led organization.
So why should someone switch from the current way that they do things to more of a compliance as a service solution?
Yeah. It's really like to even go back to the taxes that my wife and I were thinking about. So it's tax season, right? So for us, when we shifted from doing something on TurboTax to actually working with somebody for that, like our CPA, right? Our CPA calls us throughout the year and is checking in on a few different things to ensure that we're setting ourselves up for the best possible outcome the following year. The problem when I was doing it by myself is I was only looking at things in, the rearview mirror. It was like, okay, I'm just going to report what it is that I needed to do. It checked the box, right? I was able to accomplish filing our taxes, and that was great. But at the end of the day, now what we're doing is we actually have somebody who's guiding us, leading us. And so as we relate that over to what OutSolve's able to do here, our consultants are trying to think for you as an organization, as one of your employees. If we're representing you, it is what do you need to be doing as an organization that's going to set you up in the coming years. So it's not just about right now. And I think that's probably the biggest piece is that you get to build that relationship with a consultant who deeply understands your organization and is looking forward on your behalf.
One of the biggest compliance myths is that compliance as a service is just buying another piece of software that I have to manage myself. Can you share some light on whether that's true or false?
Absolutely. I would say that is false. If you move into a compliance as a service model, you're stepping into that consultant-led strategy where we're actually partnering with you and getting to know what you are doing. And really the onus is on our consultant partnering with you in that sense versus buying something like TurboTax, to stay with my theme, where you're just going in and actually filing it. We're actually standing alongside you and working to ensure that you are hitting all of the different goals that you need to hit.
How would someone actually go from a reactive compliance strategy to more of a compliance as a service model?
I would say that it starts with understanding, right? So the first thing that anyone would need to do is really get a full assessment of where are you at today. So that can be done, the starting point would be somebody doing that internally and just getting an understanding of where are we How are we addressing all of the different needs that we have out there? But maybe even a better approach would be to partner with somebody who knows what they're looking for to help you with that audit and an understanding across the board. So that would be the step one. Once you understand what it is that you have and maybe how you're approaching each different spoke of that wheel, if you want to go back to our service wheel, it then becomes, what is our framework? How do we want to approach this going forward and setting those guardrails in place? Once you've done that, then you can really start to integrate and automate what you're doing. So we would work with you, with our consultants, to ensure that what we're aligning is matching your framework, but then integrating into the system that you've created.
So can you give me 2 approaches to applying the solution?
Yeah. Approach one would be the status quo. So leaving things how they are today, which is really focusing on the fact that things are a bit disconnected. You're probably doing things with multiple different vendors. You're probably doing part of it in-house, part of it's external. And that disconnect is a lot of organizations' current status quo. So you can stay that route. Or approach B would be to partner with somebody who has those consultants who can really come in and understand what it is and do a more holistic understanding of your entire compliance world. And that is where we start to see that interconnectivity happen and really focus on things working together.
All right, moving into everyone's favorite segment, rapid fire.
Let's go.
So I'm going to hit you with some rapid fire questions and I need some rapid fire answers.
All right.
Is this scalable?
Yes.
Does technology replace the consultant?
Absolutely not.
How does this help with budget?
It becomes more predictable and something that you're actually able to plan on. Not to mention the fact that as we start to understand your environment, it's something where oftentimes we're setting you up for either, if it's not a lower cost, it's a higher likelihood that you're not going to be fined or audited on the back end.
Why should someone switch to an HR CaaS provider?
Because of our expertise and understanding of the entire solution rather than one single spoke.
What is the most overlooked area of compliance right now?
I'd say there's a couple. The one that comes to mind right off the bat is posters. People don't even know what their labor law poster provider or who that person is. They just have them up on the wall and probably have no idea of whether or not they have the right poster in the right location. But what we're finding is that's just the starting point. And really, when we think about the more complex solutions like I-9, most organizations think they have a good I-9 process. And the more they audit that and get into it, they're realizing that there is a lot to be desired in their process as a whole.
One word to describe the future of HR compliance.
Service.
If you could fix one thing about HR compliance opinions, what would it be?
I would say that people treat it too much as a one-off and instead aren't thinking of it as a holistic program that addresses all of those different items. And so people just shifting into that mindset of thinking, how do I address everything rather than one-off solutions for each component?
So what are some things that should be on HR professionals' watch list?
So we're seeing a huge rise in the number of states that are implementing transparency laws. So for California, the pay date reports are coming up on May 13th.
Well, thank you so much for talking with us today and sharing all of your industry knowledge on compliance as a service. We've really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. It was great talking to you too, Catherine.
HR compliance as a service is an evolution in the HR industry. It combines tech-enabled solutions with a consultant-led strategy. Please feel free to continue the conversation in HR Gumbo City, our Slack community built specifically for HR professionals. HR Gumbo members get exclusive first access to checklists, guides, research reports, and more. Visit outsolve.com/HRG-city to learn more. We'll see you next time.